Welcome to episode 53 of the Luxury Travel Marketer podcast. I'm your podcast host, David, co-owner and co-founder of Jadewolf Marketing. Today's episode is going to be all about how to use emotional resonance in luxury marketing. Before we dive into the topic, we just recently launched our Patreon account. For the guys amongst you that don't know what Patreon is basically a creator platform where people who have podcasts, vlogs, etc. can ask for donations, for monthly donations, so they can support themselves and put out content. We are a marketing agency, so this is for us like an additional stream of revenue that makes it easier to keep producing this podcast, keep hunting for interesting guests for you guys, buy books that we can review for you on luxury marketing, do courses that we can review for you. So if you want to support us, it's not that expensive. Go to patreon.com/Jadewolf. Look at our tiers. We actually have rewards, things like exclusive access to content before we release it online on our website. That includes blogs, podcasts, guides. If you are a higher tier supporter, we will also send you polls where you can vote basically on topics that you would like us to cover in our material and our content marketing. And if you just want to use Jadewolf Marketing as an educational resource versus hiring us as an agency or a consultant, then supporting us on Patreon is a great way to getting basically the type of topics that you want. Otherwise, if you're a business owner, a marketer who's thinking about hiring an agency like us, go to jadewolfmarketing.com, go to our resource section in the top menu. We have our blogs, our podcasts, our free guides there. Download, one of our ebooks. There's a lot of them by now, and we constantly want to produce new ones. Learn a little bit about direct marketing, data-driven marketing, and if you feel like you are ready to, do something about your lead generation, your direct bookings, fill out our contact form or callback form, and we can help you get started. Let's dive into emotional resonance. So first of all, what is emotional resonance? Emotional resonance, or emotional relevance, like it is also sometimes called, is a principle from neuromarketing, from behavioral science, from psychology, marketing psychology to be specific, that talks about how we can craft messaging, advertising, websites, content in a way that it resonates not on a rational level only necessarily, but on an emotional level with our customers, meaning they feel that they are understood, they are welcomed, they are appreciated, and this product or service will give them what they desire, what they want, and this is the right brand, and they feel a connection with you once they start engaging with your company. So this is, as you can see, emotional resonance is a super powerful principle if mastered and applied correctly, that can basically transform the effectiveness of all your marketing across the board, especially if you're running data-driven direct marketing, especially if you have acquisition funnels, if you have performance marketing funnels that you're using to drive lead generation or bookings or improve your customer retention, whatever it might be. So studying these kind of topics is important if you're a luxury marketer, because especially in luxury, emotional resonance is super important, because luxury sells mostly through emotions. I told this in this podcast in the past. We always talk about it in our blog and in our guides, and with prospects when we have our online presentations with them about potential projects, that you can basically have all the rational arguments listed out, and you can be the best in the market that builds the best yachts, has the best track record, has the best jet, has the best packages if you're a travel agency, or you have the most convenient location as a 5-star hotel in the middle of a busy metropolitan city, but people will still buy from you and buy recurringly from you and become loyal to your brand only if they feel some kind of emotional connection with your brand, with the people who work at your company, with the identity that your brand represents, with your advertising, your values. You need to establish that connection through some way, one way or another. Otherwise, in the long term, you won't have that brand equity, that pricing power that is important in luxury to command high margins and cover your large overheads for providing a luxury service or product in the first place. So mastering that is, one of the, I would say, most well-guarded secrets in luxury marketing. But since this podcast and our agency has a mission to basically unravel these secrets and make them accessible and show that we as professionals understand these concepts and can apply them effectively to our clients, I think it's important to just talk about emotional resonance a little bit more in detail in this episode. So how can we improve emotional resonance across the board? Well, we can start at the beginning, and this is a good way to start. Your personas, right? We talked about luxury buyer personas, how to create them. We have podcasts about it, blog posts. Most businesses in luxury travel that we talk to, which is the kind of like verticals that we're specialized in: hospitality, yachting, travel, and aviation. They don't really have strong personas in lots of cases. They know, like, okay, we need to reach people who have a certain net worth, who have a certain income, who are in need of a certain type of travel service or product, and we need to engage with these people somehow through sales, for marketing, and get them into like our sales cycle, our marketing funnel. But beyond that, people don't really think a lot about geography, demographic things, psychometrics, things, media consumption behavior, technology, affinity, things that are really important to basically create a solid marketing strategy, a sound media mix, and to map out, all the different ways and touch points a potential customer that is high net worth, that is affluent, could have with your brand, right? Even before you talk to the person. So personas are the best way to start. A lot of personas, even when they are created, are too superficial. They are not really useful, and especially when it comes to emotional resonance, emotional value systems, they often lack the necessary information, and they just have something like, oh, this person, is a fan of Oprah, or this person reads Forbes magazine, right? Like, it's little tidbits that, don't deliver the full picture of an archetype. And to combat that and to counter that, you need to basically start reviewing your personas. You need to have all the important elements there, but then you need to laser focus on, the kind of like emotional dimension of the persona. What that means is you can have basically all the data in your company, the historical data, the sales data, the customer data, the finance data, external research data, and then you build your personas from that. But then okay, this person lives in these kind of regions, is all like basically a certain age range, has certain interests, certain hobbies, reads certain magazines, uses certain apps, has an affinity towards certain technologies, has a lifestyle, that commands certain amount of travel and is in need of certain things, has an entourage or a social circle that's consisting of certain people all the time that they interact with, is involved in certain charities, is maybe involved in certain social endeavors. But what you have to do is, then once you have all these things, you have to basically get all the indicators, emotional indicators, from these kind of like elements. What that means is, like, a person might be caring, might be ambitious, might be a heart-driven negotiator, might be power focused. There could be a lot of different things, but these emotional indicators, you need to basically extract them from that data, and then you need to boil them down to core value systems, right? Core value systems would be things, like, okay, this person is ambitious, driven, ruthless maybe, but fair, right? So this is kind of like maybe a set of core values that you can build a persona around. And once you have these core values, you can come up with an emotion focused or value type. This kind of person would be most affected by certain emotions in your advertising and by certain values if you communicate it to that kind of person, right? So the person I just described might be really affected by, signals of success, of, competition, overcoming competition, winning the game of life, showing that, you're the best in class, things like that. But it can be very different depending on, like, what type of brand you have, what type of customer you have, what type of ideal affluent customer you want to attract, because wealthy people are obviously not, all the same, but there are certain similarities, right? And that we can exploit. So once you have this emotional focused type or value type, what you can do is bring up something which is called the limbic map. Just a little bit an excursion into neuroscience. The limbic system in your brain is basically the part that is responsible for your emotions, is responsible for, how your gut feeling, how you subconsciously react to certain triggers, to certain images, to certain situations, to people. And if you Google the limbic map, you will know what I mean. It's basically all these different kind of emotional values and triggers laid out in certain sectors. And once you have distilled your persona in an emotional sense, you can put that type over that map and figure out, okay, this is the kind of like stuff I should probably have in my marketing to really effectively engage with this type of persona, right? So this is the second step. The first step is distilling your personas until you have a value type or emotionally focused, type of customer, then mapping it to the limbic map. Then the next step is basically to map, that persona with the information from the limbic map with these kind of like values and emotions that you should have to your service or product. How can you, which services, products that you have, fulfill these? How can you talk about your service or product in a way that they reflect that? And this is the third step, right? Mapping it to your actual business. Here it's becoming more real at this moment. So a helpful thing you can do once that third step is done as a fourth step is to basically figure out, in a very boilerplate type way, what, is the one line of emotional motivation. That's called also an implicit emotional motivation, the subconscious kind of like trigger that people will have once they see your product and service mapped to their limbic map, mapped to their persona, to their value system. What will their reaction be? It could be, if it's a super yacht shipbuilder, for example, it could be, they build yachts that are modern and cutting edge. I want only the best. I want the most modern thing. I made my money with technology, and I made my money by overcoming the odds, and I want, something that is the very best and cutting edge. Then you also need to deduce the emotional objection, right? Oh, but these guys, they build a lot of different types of boats. Can they really? They build also a lot of boats which look very traditional in terms of interior design. That's maybe not my style. That's maybe not, the type of boat that I would want for myself or spend millions on to like get built. So are they really able to, provide this modern, minimalist, cutting edge design that I want that will speak to me, right? So these kind of like, the questions that everybody basically has in their head when they're about to make a purchase decision, like emotionally, subconsciously, do these people care about me? Do they understand me? Do they know me? What drives me towards getting it? And then what would stop me? What concerns would stop me from making the purchase decision? So that's the fourth step, right? And then, the last and fifth and last step to getting your emotional resonance up and lifted across your whole marketing and is to, use these new insights, your new distilled persona, your information that you extracted from layering that over the limbic map, from mapping it to your service and products, and then figuring out the emotional motivation and emotional objections that might come up, is to basically implement that in across the whole sales cycle, or across the whole marketing funnel, starting at the advertising level, your visuals, your images, your videos, your headlines, your copy, then moving on to your website, your landing page, your copywriting there, your checkout process, your booking process, your callback forms, the questions that you ask, the rich media that you use on your website, the email templates. It's a lot of different elements. Your copy and design in general should reflect these emotional triggers, these value systems, to have that high level of emotional resonance and relevance. And it needs to be also consistent, right? It cannot be that your ad communicates one thing, your landing page and your homepage communicates something different, and then in your follow-up sales process, in your email marketing automation, or your sales reps, they talk about something completely different. You need to have that emotional consistency Otherwise, there will be a pattern interrupt, a neurological shock that will cause suspicion, concern, hesitance, and basically slow down the process and potentially cost you the deal. So if that all sounds for you like it's very complicated and takes a lot of effort and energy and thinking and deduction and reasoning and research about your customers to implement across your marketing, then you're absolutely right. This is not an easy process. CRO and neuromarketing and applied behavioral psychology are very powerful tools, especially in luxury, where it's worth investing that much time and energy because the margins are high, the brand value and equity is high, and you want to basically attract affluent patrons who will potentially for years buy your services and products and recommend you for word of mouth to other wealthy patrons. So in that light, making that amount of investment and effort to getting that stuff right and really having that emotional consistency and that emotional relevance is absolutely crucial. And if you feel like you're a business owner and entrepreneur, you think you don't have the time for that, or you're a marketer, or you have a marketing team, but you might not have people who necessarily can implement that type of project or have the capabilities of, making all these deductions and all that analysis and coming up with, briefs and proposals for implementing that across your whole marketing strategy, then talk to us. We constantly do research and upskilling in the areas of CRO, marketing optimization, marketing psychology. We try to be at the cutting edge of what works in luxury marketing and in digital marketing, and we can help you even if you're a large enterprise company by supporting your in-house team, or basically do a hands-off project for you to just come up with a solid concept across the whole board on how to implement that stuff. And once that's done, once you implement it, obviously you need to measure the new results. You need to do a benchmark test against how you did marketing before, and not only bottom line revenue, but also because that can take a while to change, because people also need to start accepting that new emotional resonance across your funnel before the sales results change. But you can do A/B tests on your clicks, on your CTR, on your engagement rates, on the type of prospects that you attract, the type of leads that you generate, the type of bookings that you get, the customer lifetime value before and after. So you need to use analytics in a data-driven mindset once that all that stuff is implemented, so you can really figure out, okay, now I've hit the emotional nail on the head, so to speak. The people are getting the right message, they understanding my communication, it attracts the right people, it repels the wrong people. I have basically mastered emotional resonance in my marketing, in my luxury marketing. So that's basically the gist about emotional resonance and emotional relevance. Again, if you want to know more, hit us up, send us a message on social media, on LinkedIn. We're very active there. If you have questions, like how you can master this stuff, or how you can implement it in your business, and you have some budget, to work with people like us, feel free to send us an email at contact@jadewolfmarketing.com. We're always happy to talk about this stuff and, come up with some quotes and some, ideas for potential projects on how you can leverage that type of science in your business, right? Because it's essentially science. Marketing, the way that is done across the industry, is usually a combination of best practices that are, historically grown, meaning people have been doing things for a while in certain industries. Things have worked, so people kept doing it, and then they taught the next generation with on-the-job training on how to do that stuff, and so on and so forth. Then there sometimes have been market disruptions, technological disruptions, which have changed the status quo. Certain methods became outdated and new ones came in. Then sometimes there's, the early adopters, the cutting edge people, which are essentially usually the people who use new technologies or bring in more science into the field, apply that technology and apply that science, and essentially come up with new creative ways on how to do marketing. And then the rest of the market, eventually follows when these people already have moved on to the next thing, right? So this is basically how marketing innovation and marketing evolution works. and has done so since since the post Second World War era, where basically public relations and propaganda and all that that mental warfare kind of stuff slowly became advertising and marketing, together with the graphical stuff that existed, the street signs and the store signs and how they were, the fonts and all that stuff. So all that molded over like the 50s, 40s, 50s, 60s into kind of like what we know as marketing, heralded in the era of Mad Men in New York and all that stuff, big ad agencies, print advertising, etc., etc. Now, decades later, we are at the point where we're trying to use psychology, where we're trying to use neuroscience, where we're trying to use technology, data, and really, if we're not lazy and we have the right budgets, then we can really make our marketing work in ways that would have never been possible decades ago. So don't stick to that attitude that, okay, I'm always going to do my marketing in my industry, in my business, like it has been done before, because that's what works, because that is a fallacy. The market changes, the world changes, and your marketing needs to evolve with that thought as well. So that's it for today. If you want to support us, and if you don't feel like you cannot hire us as an agency or as a consultant for your business, go to patreon.com/Jadewolf. Become one of our supporters. We're probably going to do a shout out for supporters at some point as well. Get involved in our content creation process. We're trying to build somewhat of a community here as well with a LinkedIn group and people who follow us on social media. We want to be a very modern agency that has, an educational component as well. And, if you're a business owner, if you have more concrete pain points with lead generation and direct bookings and things like that from affluent prospects, customers that you need help with, and you have a dedicated budget for it, you're not just, in the stage where you don't even know how much money you should spend, go to jadewolfmarketing.com to a resource section, download our top 10 tactics for data-driven marketing guide, download our direct marketing guide, one of our infographics, our agency buying guide, and just start the process of realizing if we are the right agency for you, or fill out our callback form, and we will try to get in touch with you and talk about your problem and your pain points directly and try to help you. So that being said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We will do more episodes about the psychological component of luxury marketing in the future as well. Stay safe, stay healthy, and tune in next week.